Welcome to Vegan Finds, where we're going to turn this into this. Toad in a hole with vegan mushroom gravy. All right, we're still in Rule Britannia week, and we're going to make toad in a hole using some Beyond Meat sausages. We're using the brats, and I made some bangers and mash for my kid yesterday. So we got a couple extras, and I'm just going to start placing them into our pan. These are going to go into an oven at 400 degrees. While these are cooking in the oven, we are going to make the whole part of the toad in the hole, which is basically akin to a pancake batter. We're going to create self-rising flour using some of our gluten-free flour, of course, and we're going to show you how to make self-rising flour in case you get a recipe that calls for it. I don't think I've ever seen gluten-free self-rising flour before in a store, but if it does exist, I haven't seen it, and sometimes you need recipes call for it, so I'll show you how to make it. It's pretty simple, and I'm going to do that in a flash. Okay, so let's make our self-rising flour. So I have in here 2 cups of gluten-free flour, all-purpose, and basically all you have to do is add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. That's basically it. Now, if your recipe calls for something like a vegan buttermilk or an acid, the acid would neutralize the baking powder, so you add a little baking soda to that. So if you're adding an acid, whether it's buttermilk, a buttermilk substitute, a lemon juice, something like that to your batter, you're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to, actually, I'm sorry, I doubled this. So a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda to this to counteract the acidity. If your recipe does not call for salt, add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Since we have some salt in this recipe already, I'm not going to be adding any additional salt. So I'm just going to whisk this together, and I'm going to make the batter. Okay, so to my bowl here, I'm going to add 2 cups of oat milk. Now you can use almond milk, doesn't matter. And you're just going to whisk this together so it's like a pancake batter. If your batter's too thick, add a little more liquid. I will say, I do not like the color of oat milk. It's a little gray, if you ask me. So we're just going to whisk this all together. Of course, I have to pick a bowl that the stuff barely fits into. But, you know, it wouldn't be Vegan Finds if we didn't make a mess. At least I used a round bowl as opposed to a square one, which I usually do for this kind of thing, and then I complain about how stuff gets stuck in the corners. Not today, baby. Not today. So we're going to just mix this up. You can see it's basically like a pancake batter. And once... What? No lumps? Is that what you're saying?
I said with a lot of lumps.
With a lot of lumps? No lumps. No lumps. Doesn't matter if it's a little lumpy. Trust me.
Okay.
I've never heard a toad complain about it. So, our batter is ready to go. Our sausages are in the oven right now. They're cooking. So, in about 10 minutes or so, they'll be ready. I'm going to pour this right into the hot pan, slam the oven shut, cook it for another half an hour till this is done. And while that's cooking, I'm going to make some mushroom gravy. Okay, so in order to make mushroom gravies, you got to start out with mushrooms. Now, what I have here is the remnants, the last of our maitake mushroom, which I found growing on a tree stump right around my house. And I'm just going to trim off the bottom part that has a little bit of dirt on there. The rest of it's been kind of brushed clean. You can see there's a little bit of leaf here. Going to chop that off as well. You don't want any weird parts from plants unknown in your gravy. So I'm just going to chop this up pretty finely. And the maitake mushroom is a very kind of meaty mushroom. It's also referred to as hen of the woods because it looks like the back end of a chicken with all the feathers and the pleats and everything. It's really pretty extraordinary. The one that I found was 13 pounds. I mean, just crazy huge. Some guy saw me basically up in the woods there, trying to harvest this thing off the stump, and he was a little bit, I'd say taken aback would be a good word. Then he started asking me questions like, does it come back every year? And things that made it sound like maybe he would steal this one if it comes back next year. So I'm going to have to keep my eye out on that stump. You don't usually, at least foragers who do this for a profession, don't reveal their quote-unquote special hidey holes for their mushrooms, because quite honestly they're expensive, and you can make a fairly decent amount of money if you do it on a professional level and you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, do not pick a mushroom and go, ooh, let's try that. As mushroom hunters will say, don't munch on a hunch. That's a terrible thing to do. You absolutely do not want to do that, because that's the way you get sick or dead, is by kind of guessing, oh, is this something I can eat? Let me take a little taste. A little taste is all it might need, depending on which mushrooms you're accidentally ingesting. Now, most of them will just, kind of make you a little bit sick, but some will definitely kill you, cause liver failure. That's the most common cause of stuff. And in places like France and Germany, where people like to go out into the forest and forage, they see lots of cases in the emergency room of people who munched on a hunch or thought they knew what they were doing. Always ask an expert first before ever doing it, and then, as I always joke, I say feed it to somebody you don't like first, and if they're okay, then you'll be okay. So I'm going to keep chopping this up. I'm going to chop up an onion as well. I got a small black soil onion. That sound is the sound of sausages being ready to get our batter. So I'm going to take care of that in a moment. Just so you can see here, I got my toad in the hole, poured in our batter here. I'm just going to move this around, just so that way the batter has a place to get everywhere. I'm just going to kind of let it scoot around, and I'm going to put this back in the oven for another 25 minutes. Check it at 25. If it's not ready, go another 5. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm dicing up my onion, and once this is diced, I'm going to start making our gravy. We're going to use some veggie stock in this, a little bit of flour, obviously the mushrooms. I'm going to just get rid of some of this trash here and get out a skillet so I can make the gravy. Okay, so in my pan I've got a couple tablespoons of oil. I'm just going to add the onion. Okay, so in my pan I got some mushrooms and onions together. I'm just going to kind of stir this about. We're going to let them cook a little bit, get the mushrooms to start to kind of release some of their goodness, and the onions to kind of start to brown just a little bit. To our pan, what we're going to be doing is adding a half a cup of gluten-free flour to this. And I'm going to get that right now. Okay, so the mushrooms have been browning just up a little bit here. And so what we're now going to do is add our flour. I'm just going to sprinkle this around. And we're just going to, you want the flouriness of the flour to kind of cook off. So this should cook for probably about, because this is gluten-free flour, not regular flour. You can already see it's starting to brown pretty quickly. Oops, I'm going to go lower the heat just a touch. You know, maybe a minute, 2 minutes. You just want it to be, so the pieces are coated. You don't want it to burn, obviously, because burning would be bad. And now we are going to open up our veggie stock. And this is going to be variable because depending on the kind of flour you're using, if you're using regular flour, you might need less, you might need more. Gluten-free flour, you know, I don't know, but anywhere from 3 to 4 cups should make this sauce. Now I left the mushrooms much bigger. If I was doing like a gravy for, let's say, a mock roast, I would have chopped these things super fine, so that way it could be strained out. But in this case, maitakes are so damn good for you, I want to eat them. I don't want them just to be a flavor component, so I'm just going to start adding some of the mushroom. We're using an organic veggie stock here. I want to kind of get all the nooks and crannies. You can see it's starting to thick up real nice. All right. Now I'm going to add 2 secret ingredients to our gravy here. I'm going to lower the heat because I don't want it to burn. You can already see how nice and thick it's gotten. And the first ingredient is going to be umami powder. That's going to add some salt to this. I'm going to add just about a little less than a tablespoon to this. And the other ingredient I'm going to be adding is, just lost a little bit out of that pan there. I'm not the cleanest cook today. I don't know what my problem is. Oh, that's really tasty. Okay, I'm just actually going to cut the heat off right now. I'm going to add a little bit more because this is a little bit thicker than I like. The last ingredient, I gotta go into the fridge for. Now you could use soy sauce. You can use tamari because we're gluten free. We use tamari, but I'm going to be using our. I gotta shake it up first. Our homemade Worcestershire, vegan, gluten free Worcestershire, which we've had for a long time. So long that they actually now sell it in the store. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of that. A little bit more. Because it's just so damn good. And just going to give this a little stir. See where we're at. If I need to add a little more salt to this. Definitely needs a little salt and a little black pepper. Maybe it doesn't need salt. I think it just needs black pepper, which I got right here. I'm gonna add about I would say that's about a half a teaspoon. No, that's about a quarter. I'm going to add a half. There we go. Give this a little stir. I'm going to sneeze because of this, because we cannot. My pepper grinder broke, so I'm using this industrial black pepper, and it always gets up my nose. Doesn't matter. Always gets up my nose. Oh. See? See how easy it is to make some vegan gravy? Just like that. Nice. Very nice. And there you have it. That's the vegan gravy. That's going to go on our toad in the hole once it's ready. And it'll be ready in probably about 10 minutes. Okay, so there you have toad in a hole. I'm going to let it cool down. The crust is crispy. The sausages are definitely done. We got our gravy all set and ready to go. And we're going to cut this up into a nice piece here. And we will plate it up and show you the finished product in a moment. All right, so now we're going to cut our toad in the hole. Hopefully it comes out. It's one thing I didn't consider. All right. Oh, look at that. Looks pretty good. You only got a half a sausage. You want more? You want? I got gravy.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the gravy. Oh, I was gonna spoon the gravy on.
Right. That's.
Yeah.
Get a. Here. Use a ladle.
Ladle.
Use a ladle. Wait. We're gonna ladle on. Show the audience our wonderful. Oh, that looks so good. You want to do the finale?
Okay. You gotta excuse my allergies. If you like these kinds of recipes, hit the subscribe, leave a comment down below, share with your friends. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Vegan Finds. That's with an S, not a Z. I know how I sound. We will see you next time.
Perfect.